Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna कन्या प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे जय गंधर्विका गिरिधारी गौर हरि गंधर्विका गिरिधारी गौर जय जगन्नाथ बलदेव जय सुभद्रमणि बलदेव जय सुभद्रमणि जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय अनंत देव जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय प्रभु जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रज्ञाकाचार्य अष्टोदश श्री श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस श्री भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रज्ञाकाचार्य अष्टोदश श्री श्रीमती डिवाइन ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत श्री ठाकुर महाराज प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ राम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय। नवदीप मायापुर धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय। स्वामी भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि बोल। All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Sri and Gauranga, all glories to Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayudire Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. So, welcome all of you for the Sunday Bhagavatam class. Today we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 6 of Canto 5. I think we have to connect. यथा चोक्तम् नाकुर्यात् कर्हचित् साख्यम् मनसि हि अनुपस्थिते यद्विश्राम्भाक् चिराक्शीर्णम् तस्कन्दतः ऐश्वरम् तथा चोक्तम् नाकुर्यात् कर्हचित् साख्यम् मनसि हि नवस्थिते यदि विश्राम्भाक् चिराक्शीर्णम् चस्कन्दतः ऐश्वरम् तथा चोक्तम् नाकुर्यात् कर्हचित् साख्यम् मनसि हि अनवस्थिते यद्विश्राम्भाक् चिराक्शीर्णम् चस्कन्दतः ऐश्वरम् तथा चोक्तम्
Na kuryat karichit sakyam.
Na kuryat grahachit sakyam.
Manasihi anavastite.
Manasihi anavastite.
Yad vishram bhachirachanam.
Yad vishram bhaktiratrinam.
Jaskanda tapa ashwaram.
Jaskanda tapashwaram. Tathashoktam.
Na kuryat karhichit sakyam.
Na kuryat karichit sakyam. Manasihi anavastite.
Tathashoktam. Na kuryat karhichit sakyam. Manasihi anavastite. Yad vishram bhaktiratrinam. Jaskanda tapashwaram. Tathashoktam.
Na kuryat karichit sakyam.
Na kuryat karhichit sakyam.
Manasihi anavastite.
Manasihi anavastite.
Yad vishram bhachirachanam.
Yad vishram bhaktiratrinam.
Jaskanda tap aishwaram.
Jaskanda tapashwaram. Tathashoktam. Na kuryat karhichit sakyam. Manasihi anavastite. Yad vishram bhaktiratrinam. Jaskanda tapashwaram. Tathashoktam. Na kuryat karhichit sakyam. Manasihi anavastite. Yad vishram bhaktiratrinam. Jaskanda tapashwaram. Word by word meaning. Please repeat. Tatha, so, cha, and, uktam, it is said, na, never, kuryat, should do, karchit, at any time or with anyone, sakhyam, friendship, manasi, in the mind, he, certainly, anvastite, which is very restless, yet, in which Islam Bhat, from placing too much faith, chirat, for the long time, chirnam, practiced, jaskanda, become disturbed, tapa, the austerity, Aiswaram, of great personalities like Lord Shiva and the great six Sobari. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: all the learned scholars have given their opinion. The mind is by nature very restless, and one should not make friends with it. If one places full confidence in the mind, it may cheat us at any moment. Even Lord Shiva became agitated upon seeing the Mohini form of Lord Krishna, and Saubari Muni also fell down from the mature stage of yogic perception, of perfection. Please repeat. All the learned scholars have given their opinion. The mind is by nature very restless, and one should not make friends with it. If you place full confidence in the mind, it may cheat us at any moment. Even Lord Shiva became agitated upon seeing the Mohini form of the Lord Krishna. And Saubari Muni also fell down from the mature stage of yogic perfection. But the first business of one trying to advance his spiritual life is to control the mind and the senses. As Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 15.7, Mamai amsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manasasthani indriyani pratisthani karshati. All the living entities are the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord and are therefore in the transcendental position. They are still suffering in this material world and struggling for their existence due to the mind and the senses. To get out of this false struggle for existence and become happy in the material world, one has to control the mind and senses and be detached from material conditions. One should never neglect austerities and penances. One should always perform them. Lord Rishabdev personally showed us how to do this. In Srimad Bhagavatam 9.19.17, it is specifically stated, Matra swasra dahitrava nabhivika sano bhavet balvan indriye gramo vidvamsham apikarshati. A grihastha, vanprastha, sannyasi and brahmachari should be very careful when associating with women. One is forbidden to sit down in a solitary place even with one's mother, sister or daughter. In our Krishna consciousness movement, it has been very difficult to dissociate ourselves from women in our society, especially in the Western countries. We are therefore sometimes criticized, but nonetheless, we are trying to give everyone a chance to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and thus advance spiritually. If you stick to the principle of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra offenselessly, then by the grace of Srila Haridas Thakur, one may be saved from the allurement of the woman. However, if we are not very strict in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we may be at any time fall victim to the woman. Om Jnana Timarandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manoishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunath Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vatirja He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubesha Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnevyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, I'm grateful for giving this opportunity to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam. I try to speak whatever I heard, just for my own purification. So, just to give a recap, what we have read in the fifth canto till now, in the previous chapter, we have seen in the previous slokas, previous chapter, how the Maharaj Navi and his wife Meru Devi prayed to the Lord to have a son like him. And hearing the prayers of the devotee, Krishna appears there. And when the Krishna appears, they pray that we should get a son like you. And then we see like Krishna being very affectionate to his devotee. He tells, like, there is nobody equal to me or above me. So if you want a son like me, then I myself will appear in as your son. Now it is said like Krishna is the Asam Urdhva. Asam Urdhva in the sense like there is nobody equal or ever him. So Krishna himself showing his supreme mercy to his devotees, he himself appears as a son. And then he appears as a son to Maharaj Navi. So he appears as a full manifestation, all the symptom of Supreme Personality of Godhead was there. Like Krishna was his son was having all the marks on his feet, marks which is there, which identifies the Lord. We can see the footprint of Krishna, and then all those 19 symbols, the Sankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma, flag, fish, and all those things comes. So when his son used to walk, we used to see that all these marks were coming. It is said like when the Akrura comes to Vrindavan to take the Krishna Balaram back to Mathura. So when he is at the periphery of the Vrindavan, he sees the marks, the same marks of the Lord's feet, the Lord's lotus feet, that all the marks, impressions he sees, and he becomes so much overwhelmed with emotions, he fails and becomes unconscious there. So the same Lord, who is Krishna in Vrindavan, he appears as the Lord Rishabdev here as the son of King Nami. And then his name was given as the Rishabdev. Rishabh is the best. So he was the best because Supreme Personality of Godhead, none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he was given the name Rishabh, the best. So we are saying in the Gopi Geet, Rishabh Dev Hayam Rakshita Muhu. So my best of the personalities, please protect us. So that Gopi Geet, the gopis are singing, the same Rishabh, the word is there. So that name Rishabh Dev was given to his son Rishabh. And then he was very peaceful, very unequal to everyone. He was controlled his full senses, mind, and the process, all the opponences as a Krishna. All the opponents of Krishna was there when he came. And then we see subsequent chapters like the Lord Rishabdev had 100 sons, and then the eldest son was the Bharata Maharaj, who is going to come further when we study further in this canto. So Bharata Maharaj was the great devotee of Krishna, and then on his name only the name of the earth planet is given as the Bharata Varsha. And then it is said like Bharata Maharaj, like that he got 100 sons, Rishabdev. And then first 10 sons were the devotee of Krishna, great devotees. The first was the Bharata Maharaj, and then 9 were the preachers. They become preachers of Srimad Bhagavatam. And they went all over the world to preach the glories of the Krishna Prema. Remaining 9, they become 9 sons, they become Kshatriya to protect the society. And the remaining 81 sons, 10 plus 9 were this thing. Now, when 81 sons, they were the Brahmanas. They used to do Karma Kanda, Pujas and all that. So that way, the Rishabdev had 100 sons. So with that, and then the last chapter we see the instructions. The Lord Rishabdev gives instruction to his son. So all the 100 sons gives a different instruction how we should live our life, and so how we can go back to Godhead. So all these instructions are there in the previous chapter. In this chapter, the activities of Lord Rishabdev is the 6th chapter of the 5th canto, and today we are going to read the sloka number 3. Srila Prabhupada has spoken elaborately on the teaching of Rishabdev. In many lectures you can find. And many places Srila Prabhupada quotes these teachings in his purports and writings, in his lectures. So coming back to the sloka, here we see like in the sloka number 2 to 5 of the 6th chapter from the beginning. So here Parikshit Maharaj, Sukadeva Goswami is explaining Parikshit Maharaj how we should not have faith in the mind. In this sloka also it is said that mind is by nature very restless, and one should not make friends with it. If you place full confidence in the mind, it may cheat us at any moment. And then the biggest sloka, in the 2nd sloka, it is said that like a hunter, don't put faith on the animals which he captures, and always remain very vigilant, because that animal can run anytime. Similarly, those who are advanced in spiritual life should do not put faith on the mind. always they should remain vigilant to what the mind is doing. And that way, the Sukadeva Goswami is telling to Parikshit Maharaj. And Srila Prabhupada makes very important, very nice points in the purport when he says, talks about although living entities are part and parcel of Krishna, the Supreme Lord, and therefore in the transcendental position, they are having a transcendental position. But then, even though they are part and parcel of Krishna, they are suffering this world because of the mind. That's what Prabhupada says, still suffering this material world and struggling for existence due to mind and the senses. And to get out of this false struggle for existence, one has to become happy in this material world, one has to control the mind and senses and be detached from the material condition. So Prabhupada writes how a person can become happy in this world. So for doing that, he has to control the mind and the senses. This is the foremost thing, and that Prabhupada ends the purport by telling that we should very strictly chant our rounds, chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and then only the mind will come under control. As we all know, that mind is very difficult to control. Do you have anybody here who has controlled the mind? It's very difficult to control the mind. One of the lecture, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu was just speaking. I just remember just I had to tell that he tells a small son, a father is going in a car with their son, and the son is very excited to see. He's seeing so many things, and he's just telling his father, just see this billboard, just see this shop, just see this thing, that market, this thing, that thing. If a person is driving his car and his son starts telling all those things and he starts looking at his son, then he will be met with accident. So what he does, he sees the son, but he doesn't see what son is seeing. Right? So he keeps a tab on the son, what he's doing, but he doesn't follow the things what his son is telling. So what is Chaitanya Prabhu? That's what is our thing also in our life also. Mind is the sun. The mind will keep telling us, see this thing, see that thing, see there, that is happening, there is happening, this thing happening. So we should keep seeing what the mind is telling, but we should not follow what the mind is doing. And why we should keep seeing what mind is doing? By seeing what mind is doing, we tell us what is our level of purification, what type of thoughts are coming in our mind. Right? So if you want to see what is our level of advancement, we should see what type of thoughts comes in our mind when we are sitting peacefully. Then we just meditate and see what type of thoughts are coming. So that's what Chaitanya Prabhu was telling. And then the famous quotation from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. What is that? It is, we should beat the mind in the morning by broomstick 100 times. Right? And then we should beat in evening again 100 times by shoes. So the question comes how to beat the mind by shoes and the broomstick. Because mind is something is not subtle, right? We cannot just see physically. So then how to beat that? So then what the different devotees I just heard, beating the mind in the morning and evening is mind is we see the very ferocious animals in the jungle. They get tamed like the lion and the tiger. So in the circus, old time, nowadays there are no animals in the circus. But in the old time there used to be animals in the circus, and there used to be a ringmaster. And then for taming these animals, he used to beat. He put so much torture, I think. That means they put some hunter and they beat that. And then this tiger and the lion is so ferocious they become so much tamed. So whatever the ringmaster will say, he will do. They will do. They will say, you sit on the stool, they will sit on the stool. I remember my young days. So similarly, when we have to tame the mind, we have to beat the mind. That's what Bhakti Saraswati is telling. Mind is also very, very strong, very powerful. But we have to tame the mind, we have to beat it. Now, how to beat that mind? So what it is said is morning we should beat by broomstick. So we should try to see first that we and my mind is different. I am different from my mind. I am not same as my mind. Now, to control the mind, we have to do something so that mind will not let go anywhere. So morning we have to chant our round very attentively. With full attention when we chant our rounds, then we are trying to tame the mind in the morning. And then the whole day we go, in evening, we go to office, we go to so many places, and then mind again get polluted with the material thoughts and all those things. So when we go in evening, again we get engaged ourselves, we engage ourselves in doing some things for the pleasure of the Lord. So we get to do reading, we hearing, we do some bhajan singing. So all these things is like we are trying to tame the mind. So this, our relation with Krishna is independent. Each one is having independent relation with the Lord. Because each one is having a part and parcel of Krishna. So depending on our relation, depending on our bhava, we need to have some method what we feel like which help us to control our mind. Like morning we have to chant our round, and evening we can do reading, we can do chanting, we can do whatever we do for the service of the Lord, and that way we can tame our mind. So that way we can see in the morning we are beating the mind by chanting attentively, and evening we are beating the mind by engaging in some seva which help us to progress in Krishna consciousness, it helps us in focusing in Krishna consciousness. So that is the way we can explain like beating the mind in the morning and the evening. So that is the Prabhupada means we have not got the Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur everywhere Prabhupada quotes this. In fact, I was just hearing this sloka 5.6.3. So Prabhupada starts this class by telling, my Guru Maharaj has told that we should beat our mind. He starts with that. So beating the mind is like we should engage in whatever relation we find that is good for us to help us to pacify our mind, we should do that. And that way we should try to tame our mind. So to understand like mind control, how to control the mind. So first we should try to understand what is the mind. Mind is nothing physical, it's not physical. Mind is something which is intangible, is subtle. Right? So when you go to a doctor and ask what is the human body, so when a doctor studies, he studies the different human part of the human body, the physiology, the biochemistry, the different things he studied. But then we cannot answer like when the life begins. Medical science, if you go and ask how the life begins, when the life begins, life begins at the conception, a life begins when the embryo develops, in the womb of the mother, at the time of birth. No, we cannot know when exactly the life begins. There is no answer still. What happens? How the life begins? Even though so many progresses has been done. And then another question comes is like, what is the difference between the dead body and the person alive? Like just 5 minutes before, a person is fully normal, and within 5 minutes, a heart attack comes and person dies. Right? That's happening more prominently nowadays, we are seeing. So people are going to the gym and here and there, and then they just leave their body. Something happens. And then it goes to the doctor asking what happened, why did he die? They do the technical analysis, then they will come and tell there is a massive heart attack, one part of the cardiac muscle died, because of that the heart failed to circulate the blood, and because of low blood available, the person died. So the question comes is like, if you replace a heart with an artificial heart, can you make a person survive? A person dies, can you do the heart transplant to a dead person? You cannot just do that. So what is that? Soul is missing. And that's all. And that's what is the point which nobody understands in the medical terminology. There is a soul, there is a mind, intelligence, false ego, is a subtle body. So like that, the modern science continues. And then we see that human body. When we say human body, what is the human body? Human body is made of different organs. And then what they say, the organs is made of tissues. And the tissues is made of the cells. And the cell is made of what? What is that? Different acids and different lipids. Then finally what comes out is finally they said if everything disintegrates into nitrogen, carbon and oxygen. That's it. Then what is the difference? So can you put all the things together and can you make a person alive? No, it's not possible. So what is the missing is, even though so much progress has happened and the doctors know about the gross body, lot of things have been, people come to know that we have got a body and there's a heart, there's a lungs, there's a liver, there's a kidney, there's a pancreas, there's so many parts of the body. But then, how this all combines together and the soul comes there and the human becomes alive. That is not known. So as the Bhagavad Gita is talking about, there is a difference between the gross body and the subtle body. A person dies, the gross body finishes, but the subtle body goes to next life. Right? So that understanding is not there. And because of that, and now we are seeing so many mental diseases which are there is happening. The bipolar disorders are there, depressions are happening, the Alzheimer disease is happening, the Parkinson disease is happening. But there is no solution for these all diseases. This is disease of mind. Because nobody knows how this disease happens and how, if they don't know how the disease happens because mind nobody knows about it, then how to treat that? That also nobody knows about it. So that's the reason, even though we are in 21st century, so many advancements has happened, but these mental diseases are creating much, much more agony to the whole human society. And we are seeing these numbers are increasing and there is no solution. There is no solution why in Alzheimer disease the brain disintegrates, the brain dies, why it happens. There is no solution for this. There is no answer, there is no medicine available for this. So we go to Bhagavad Gita, then we open the book and we see, and then Krishna says that I got a gross body, earth, air, water, fire and ether. And this gross body is made of this element, which is my separated energy. And then there is a subtle body, which is mind, intelligence and false ego. And then after the life, the subtle body changes, transforms from one body to another body. And then the mind has the impressions which is there for the millions of the life, not from this life. And that continues. And that's the reason it becomes so difficult to control the mind. So when we know all these things, we know what is our real identity. We are part and parcel of Krishna. We are the soul. That's what Bhagavad Gita tells. And then when we live a life connected with Krishna, then only we'll be able to control our mind. A life connected with the Krishna, life connected with his devotees. Then only we'll be able to control the life. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is telling, Chanchalam hi manah Krishna, Pramadi balvad. That means what? That means like my mind is restless. It's very, very obstinate, very strong. Oh Krishna, how to control? It is much more powerful than the wind. Then what Krishna tells? Yes. Krishna tells, Abhyasena yoga tu kaunteya, vairagena tu grihate. That means we have to do two things. We have to do practice, abhyas, and then we have to do vairagya. Now what abhyas? We have to do abhyasa of practicing Krishna consciousness, that devotion to Lord, that abhyas. And then what is the vairagya? Vairagya means we have to leave those things which is related to this material world. We have to engage in the service of Krishna. Engage all the things in the service of Krishna. And that is what is the way, two things, by abhyas and renunciation. By practice and renunciation, practicing the Krishna consciousness and renouncing things which is not related with Krishna. Through that we can control our mind. That's what Krishna is telling in Bhagavad Gita. Now, how to do that practice? How to do the Krishna consciousness? How to engage in Krishna consciousness? How to do the renunciation of material things? So, we'll discuss some few points today. So, first thing we need to really understand, we do not belong to this material world. We are the spirit soul. We are part and parcel of Krishna and we belong to a spiritual world. We have come from Krishna's lok, the Golok, and then we have come here, we are suffering here. We are in the foreign land, like fish out of water, and we are suffering. So that we have to be very, very clear about it. We do not belong to this world, we belong to some other world. This is not my place, this place is not my place. So then, if we are not belonging to this place, we have to go to that place, that Krishna's lok, Golok Vrindavan. Then how we can go? How we can go from this place to that place? So normally when we have to go from this place, one place to another place in this material world, what do? You will use the Google map, right? You use the Google map, you have to switch on the GPS, and then the direction will start coming. You have to go the most optimal direction. So here, what is the GPS? Which will help us to go from here to that world. Like I said, the GPS is Guru Parampara system. When we follow that Guru Parampara system, the guidance of that Guru Parampara system, then we can very easily migrate from this place which is not our natural place. This is not our place. This is not our natural position where we are here. And we can go back to our original home, back to Godhead. So that is the way we have to move. And how we'll move? In the guidance of the Gurus. And that we have to take the guidance of that GPS, not this GPS. And then to go there, when you go to spiritual world, what is the currency there? What is the thing required there? Required is love for Krishna. So we should have love in our heart for Krishna. To have the love for Krishna in our heart, what we should do? And how to develop that love for Krishna? So Srila Prabhupada writes in one of his purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the three things, the bhakti, the bhakta and the bhagwan. The bhakti, bhakta and bhagwan doesn't belong to this world. Have you heard this? So bhakti, bhakta and bhagwan, these three things are independent individual things. The bhakta, all of us, the part or partial of Krishna, and Bhagwan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. They are perpetually there, eternally there. And what is bhakti? Bhakti is a relation between bhakta and Bhagwan. So these three things always remain eternally available. And that doesn't belong to this world. Because this world is a material world, everything is temporary here. So in this temporary world, this eternal thing doesn't belong. That's what Srila Prabhupada says, the bhakti, bhakta and Bhagwan doesn't belong to this world. So only way we can go back to Godhead to perfect our life is to associate with the sadhus and then get the mercy of the sadhu and associate with the devotees. So to know about who is the sadhu, next question comes, who is the sadhu? Right? To go back to Godhead, we don't belong, we're very clear on this, we don't belong to this world. We are temporarily here because of some reason. And now we have to go back to Krishna. Now going back to Krishna, right, we should have a love for Krishna. When the love is there in the heart, then only we can go back there. And then to have the love, we should get the mercy of bhakta and devotees, and we should have a sadhu sangha. Now who is sadhu? So what Srimad Bhagavatam is saying in the 3rd canto, 21st chapter, the characteristic of the sadhu, Dikshva Karunika. Suhit Sarva Dehinam, right? Dikshva Karunika Suhit Sarva Dehinam, Ajam Satrush Santa Sadhva Sadhu Bhushanam. So these are the characteristics of the sadhu. So what is the first characteristic? Characteristic is Titikshva, tolerant. He should be tolerant. And then what next is Karunika. Always ready to bestow mercy on others. Suhrit Sarva Bhutanam. Suhrit Sarva Bhutanam is always well-wisher friend for everybody else. Ajat Satru, inimical to none. He is not having any enemy. A devotee is Ajat Satru. Right? He is not having any enemy. He is not inimical to anybody, in fact. And Santa, always peaceful. Sadhava, abiding by the scriptures. And these are the many, all this is so many sublime characteristics. So when we say these are the characteristics, these are the scale through which we can judge who is sadhu. This is what Srimad Bhagavatam is telling. And then he tells that only by sadhu sangha we can go back to Krishna, we can develop love for Krishna. So there is a difference between the sadhu and the sadhak. Right? Sadhak is one who is practicing Krishna consciousness. And the sadhu is one who has perfected his life by practicing sadhana. And we have to associate with sadhu. So we have to be very, very careful while associating with sadhu, that when we say we do sadhu sangha, we should associate with those who are having those characteristics, what is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. So who is sadhu? And then it is said there is a difference between sadhaka and the sadhu. So we'll just go back to Chaitanya Charitamrita and see what Chaitanya Charitamrita is telling, how to get the love for Krishna. So in the Madhya Leela, 22nd chapter, the 49th verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is instructing Sanatana Goswami. And there he is telling how one can get love for Krishna. So he's telling, Sadhu Sanghe Krishna Bhakti Shradhaya Dihai Bhakti Kala Premahai Samsaraya Chai. Sadhu Sangha Krishna Bhakti Shradhaya Dihai. By associating with the devotee, if we can develop faith in Krishna. So sadhu sangha, by associating with the sadhu, what happens? We develop faith in Krishna. And then what happens? The dormant love for Krishna which is there in our heart become prominent. And then what happens further? Samsara hai chai. Samsara hai chai means we become free from material bondage. Right? That's what Mahaprabhu is telling. How we can get Krishna prema. How the dormant love for Krishna which is there in the heart can become prominent. So, sadhu sangha Krishna bhakti shraddha yadi hai. So by sadhu sangha we can have develop shraddha. And with that shraddha, the dormant love for the Krishna, if we engage in devotional service, become manifested. The love of Godhead will manifest in our heart. And then what happens next? Then our material engagement or material bondage will come out of it. So, how the dormant love? Dormant love of Krishna is there in the heart because we are the part and parcel of Krishna. Right? It is our natural position to love Krishna. It is our constitutional position. It is our Jaya Dharma is to love Krishna. But we have forgotten. Jiveta Sarupa Nitya Krishna Das. Right? So that is what is our position. And we have forgotten. And then to revive that dormant love for Krishna, Mahaprabhu is telling that we should do sadhu sangha. And by sadhu sangha, the faith will develop. Faith in Krishna will develop. With that faith, we do devotional service. The love of Godhead will manifest. That is the process Mahaprabhu is telling to Sanatana Goswami. Then another next sloka is a very, very wonderful. I felt like it is very much attracting, very much attracted to our heart. So I thought we'll share this, some few slokas of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Next sloka is most beautiful. Mahat kripa bina kono karme bhakti naya Krishna bhakti dure rahu samsar nahi chaya. Mahat kripa bina kono karme bhakti naya. That means here it is said like unless one is favored by the pure devotees, the Mahat is the pure devotee of Krishna. Without getting the favor from the pure devotee of the Krishna, one cannot get bhakti. Right? So, unless one is favored with pure devotee, one cannot attain the perfection, perform a devotional service. And then, forget about the Krishna bhakti. Krishna bhakti dure raha. Samsara nahi shaya. Forget about Krishna bhakti. The samsara also will not get, means you will not get out of the material bondage also. So, Mahat Kripa. So, first sloka was talking about the sadhu sangha. Second sloka, Mahaprabhu is telling Sanatana Goswami to develop love for the God. What we should have? Mahat Kripa. We should have Mahat Kripa from the pure devotee of Krishna. So, this is the process of getting bhakti. Like it is said, we cannot get bhakti by giving donation, by making temples, by feeding the poor, by making big hospitals, by making so many arrangements, by doing the wearing kantimala, by wearing dhoti and kurta, putting tilak. You cannot get Krishna bhakti. We can get Krishna bhakti when we are having association, Mahat Kripa. When the Mahat Kripa happens, then we get the bhakti of Krishna. Why? Why is like that? Because bhakti doesn't belong to this world. Bhakti doesn't belong to this world. Bhakti is from spiritual world. It is coming here through a person who is having bhakti in his heart. So when we will get mercy from that person who is having bhakti in his heart, we can get bhakti. So like it is said, if suppose we have to get the mangoes from the Alfonso mango from Ratnagiri, you want to have that. That's the best mango in the world, the Alfonso mango, the hapus. And you want to get that. How will you get it? You can go to the website. You can talk to some person. Please give me that. But the website also may not be pure. Maybe somewhere else, something else. Will not get. They'll say Alfonso, but it may not be Alfonso, right? It may be something else. So, if you really want to get that Ratnagiri mango, then what is required? The person from Ratnagiri should go and pluck that mango and come and give it to you. Then only, because this mango is not available in Bangalore, right? We have to get it from a person who is from there coming and giving it to you. Similarly, when you have to get the bhakti, we cannot get bhakti. There are so many persons are there in this place, they are trying to give bhakti. But what is the actual bhakti? The actual bhakti is one who is coming from the spiritual world through the parampara system, as per the scriptures now, as per sadhu and shastras, guru, sadhu and shastras. So that through that process only we can get bhakti. And there is no other way to get bhakti. Like it is said, as we have said, without Mahat Kripa we cannot get bhakti. So like in this regard, there is one pastime of Srila Prabhupada. Like Srila Prabhupada, I just read this in the Watering the Seed, there is a book from Giriraj Maharaj. So in that Maharaj is writing, in 1971, Srila Prabhupada along with his disciples, he came from US here and he was doing different programs in India. And then he was going to different places, doing big Pandal programs and all those things. So he goes to Madras, the Chennai now. And there he does, a lot of people, thousands of persons used to come there at that time. So one day evening, Srila Prabhupada was invited in the home of Chief Justice of the Madras High Court. And Prabhupada goes there along with his all disciples. And there he was just sitting and talking about the different pastimes of Krishna. So Prabhupada performed one small pastime there. Like there's a Shyama Sundar Prabhu, you must have heard, Prabhupada disciple, and his wife Malati Mataji. And they were having that time a child, small 3 years old, Saraswati. So Saraswati was there along with Prabhupada, 3-year-old girl, and she was playing with the small Krishna deity, this Krishna statue, you can say that. So Prabhupada takes that and hides it behind that small statue of Krishna. And then this girl becomes bewildered, like, where is Krishna gone? So Prabhupada asked, where is the Krishna? She started looking here and there, she couldn't understand. Then other devotees said, where is Krishna? Who is having Krishna? So the girl could able to understand, yeah, Prabhupada is having Krishna. So Giriraj Maharaj then writes, yes, Prabhupada is having Krishna. So depending on our intense desire to have Krishna, Prabhupada can give Krishna to all of us as he given to that small girl. So that's I felt like very nice to share with you all. So that is the way the Krishna Bhakti comes. Krishna Bhakti comes from the Mahat Kripa. When the pure devotee of the Lord bestows his mercy, then only Krishna comes in our life. So the two things we have to find out: who is the sadhu, who is the real sadhu, and we have to associate with that sadhu. And then when we have to read Chaitanya Charitamrita to understand like how to go back to Godhead, how to get love for Krishna. We have to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Charitamrita is said is the great jewel of all the literature for Gaudiya Vaishnavas. I was just hearing it said like, if you want to become mad in Krishna, mad in love for Krishna, you should read Chaitanya Charitamrita. So here again that the small pastime is there in there's one devotee named Ladni Mataji. She was there in the New Vrindavan. So I think you have heard about her. Anybody heard about her? Yeah. So Ladni Mataji was there. There is no different mountains used to be there. Now also it is there. And each mountain is having a small temple, means it's temple. And there the devotees are not much. So one devotee used to take care of the temple. So one of the temple was taken care by Ladni Mataji. So her routine was like whole 24 hours she used to get time only to sleep for 2-3 hours. The whole day she used to do preparation, bhogas, doing arti, preparing the dresses for the deities and reading. So this way she was just living her life. And then she came to know that Prabhupada has written, this Chaitanya Charitamrita written by Srila Prabhupada is published now and is being distributed widely. Now she had an intense desire to read that Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, but she was not having money to get it. Then she came to know there is one copy in VVT which is having some defect. In fact, defect in the sense not printing defect, some stitching or some pages was having some here and there. So she requested the devotees to get that copy. She prayed to the Balram to get that copy. And then with that, somehow or other the BBT shipped that copy to her. And then what happened is like she gets so much overwhelmed seeing the Charitamrita. She used to read daily. And it is said in 8 years she has read 12 times, cover to cover. So that's the reason, and she was mad in love of Krishna. So we can discuss about her sometime later. And those who are knowing, we can, they know that how a great devotee she was. So and that is the way we should have our intense desire to get love for Krishna, and then only love for Krishna will come. We will pray to Krishna, please give me that love. Give me the association of Mahat. Give me the association of Sadhu Sangha. Give me that Sadhu Sangha so that I can develop love for Krishna in my heart. So, one more sloka I'll just read. Can we read? Till what time, Prabhu? 10 o'clock, huh? So here is a next sloka in the same Madhya Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is basically from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 12th chapter, 12th sloka. Is Jada Bharat is instructing Rahuguna. You know the stories of Rahuguna. So Jada Bharat is instructing the Rahuguna. So there is it. Rahuguna tapsa, Rahuganaita tapasanayati, Najaya nirpand krihadva, Na chandasha naivam jalagni surya, Bina mahatpad rajo nabhishekam, Bina mahatpad rajo bhishekam. Bina Mahatpad Rajo Vishekam. So same thing is coming again in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Bina Mahatpad, without Mahatpad Rajo. Mahat is the pure devotee of the Lord. Feet, the dust from the feet of the great devotee of the Lord, without by doing Abhishekam, without doing the Abhishekam, that we cannot get love of Godhead. That's what is said. Rahagunai tapasanayati, by doing the tapasya, not by doing the tapasya, austerity, finances, not by that. Not by Georgia's worshipping or entering the renounced order of life or by studying the Vedas. No, not by that. We cannot get Krishna's bhakti, prem bhakti for Krishna by doing all these things. We can get prem bhakti for Krishna only by Bina Mahatpad Rajo Vishekam. Unless we bathe ourselves in the dust of the lotus feet of Sadhu, we cannot get mercy of Krishna. Now we should remember one thing. Like, this is a Jada Bharat speaking to Rahuguna. Now who is Jada Bharat? Jada Bharat is the earlier life, he was Bharat Maharaj. And Bharat Maharaj is someone whose name, the whole kingdom was kept as a Bharat Varsha. He was the king of the whole Bharat Varsha. He was having everything. He was having so much opulence. His relatives, friends, family, everything was there. And then he left everything. He left everything, he went to jungle. And he go to Himalayas. He went to Himalayas. And he used to perform his puja there. It is said that he reached to level of Bhava Bhakti. Thus one stage is the next, the Prema Bhakti. He was about to make it. And that time what happened? It is said like when he used to do the chanting, the tears used to flow from his eyes. When he used to do puja, worship, his hairs stand on end. And then what happened? One day he just saw one baby deer in the Gandaki river. And she became so overwhelmed. This baby deer will die in the cold water of Gandaki river. He jumped and took the deer out. It is said like he was a Kshatriya. He was a Kshatriya. So that Kshatriya nature to protect others, that prevailed. And with that, he just jumped to protect the deer. And somehow or other he got so much entangled with that deer at the time of death, he was forgotten. He just was with the deer. And because of that, he took next birth as a deer king. And then in the next birth again, so he was living full life as a deer. In the next life again, he got a human form of body, and then he realized, now no mistake I'll do this time. No further mistakes. He withdrew all his senses inside and he became Jada Bharat. He was not indifferent to everything else. And then he was carrying one day the king, Rahaguna and the Pali queen, and he was just jumping. And the king became jumping to protect the ants there down. And the king became so much angry, he came out. And then he started speaking about the different philosophies. And then king came to know the glories of this Mahat. And then what he is saying, he not by tapasya, not by worshipping, by great worship, not by renounce order going renounce order of life. No, not by that, not by that. You can get love for Krishna only by when you will get Vina Mahatpad Rajol Abhishekam. Without that Raj from the feet of the pure devotee of Krishna, you cannot get love of Godhead. Like in Chaitanya Chatamrit, there are three things it is said. Bhakta Pad Dhuli aur Bhakta Pad Jal Bhakta Bhukta Avashesh Tino Mahabal. So three things are there. What is that? Bhakta Pad Dhuli, the dust from the feet of the pure devotee. Bhakta Pad Jal, from the water washed the feet of the pure devotee. And then Bhakta Bhukta Avashesha. When we offer bhoga to Krishna, it becomes Mahaprasad. And when that Mahaprasad is offered to a pure devotee, it becomes Mahaprasad. So these three things, when we take, that give the strength to get the love for Krishna in our heart. So that is what it is there. Like what way we can control our mind. There are so many methods all over the world. So many Hatha Yoga is there, so many meditation methods are there, so many things are there. These are all artificial. If you really want to control Krishna, control the mind, then you have to, what Krishna is telling, Abhyas and Vairagya. And the Abhyas and Vairagya will only come if you associate with the Mahat. If you associate with the Sadhu Sangha, with the Sangha of Sadhu if you do, then only that love will come in our heart. And when that love will come in our heart, then with your pure intelligence we can control our mind. And then mind will be controlled permanently. And then for that we have to lead a life deeply connected with Krishna and his devotees. That is the essence. Like, and that is the way to go. Like Prabhupada was praying and somebody asked, like, Prabhupada, what you are praying? So Prabhupada said, like, I am praying that I should not fall into Maya. So it's not that we have to continuously practice our sadhana strongly, associate with devotees, get the sadhu sangha, whenever you get the opportunity to associate with the Mahat, the pure devotee of Lord, and that way we can purify our existence, control our mind. So thus I'll end. The story was there, but then I think it will take more time. Okay. Any question or any comment on the things what we discussed today? Yeah, you know, I already think why you're asking questions. Yeah.
It is very easy to relate, but the actual outside is not so easy. You cannot identify it yourself. As I step outside, I see this. I myself become one with the surrounding what's going on. Get lost.
Yeah, this is the way the whole world is going. They are not able to discriminate between the mind and the self. The mind and the self is different. And since by default we are in this material world for the time immemorial, for millions of lives, so this default position is that, default condition is like that. We consider our mind, myself is my mind. So what Prabhupada is telling in the purport, if you read again, then he's telling we should do the austerity and finances. So like when we do the austerity, when we do doing Ekadasi is also austerity. So when you do Ekadasi in the sense like the real Ekadasi, you can do Ekadasi in different way. I mean to say, when we do really the Ekadasi without taking the food, and then many times we do Nirjala Ekadasi, right? So we make out like we want to please the Lord, but body is not allowing us to do that, to continue, right? We want to remain hungry, but my body is not letting me do that. So that is the way we can discriminate, in the sense like I am different from this body. I am trying to do something, but my body is not allowing me to do. And then what Krishna is telling in Bhagavad Gita, again, the two things, Abhyas and Vairagya. So the question what you asked, Arjuna is also asking. The mind is chanchala. It's very difficult to control the mind. It's like a wind. Wind you cannot control, the mind also you cannot control. So how can we discriminate? By practicing, by abhyasa, by practicing that we are different from the mind. We are the part and parcel of Krishna. We are the soul. So with that, if you keep practicing, in fact, it is said like we have to be Krishna conscious. So when we remember Krishna all the time, we will remember who am I, who is Krishna, what is my relation with Krishna. And for that to happen, we have to be in touch of Krishna and his devotees somehow or other. We have to keep reminding ourselves we are different from this body. Otherwise, from time immemorial, we are doing the same thing. So by practicing, one day as Krishna is telling himself in Bhagavad Gita, we cannot just tell that Krishna is just telling. Krishna himself is telling, and we see many devotees. In fact, the recent example, why I should give those all the examples. The Kadam Kanan Swami Maharaj. If you see in Vrindavan, his body is not there. In the sense, body is fully dilapidated. But he is having consciousness. He is doing his chanting in that condition. He is not able to speak, but he is doing it in mind. So that tells that we are different from the mind. Mind is a part of the body. And I am different. I am the soul. The mind intelligence and false ego is subtle. But more subtler than that is the soul. The soul is much more higher. And by practicing, we will realize that. So that's what we can see the devotees also doing, who are followed, they are showing by their example. So that is the hope for all of us. So,
Thank you for the very powerful lecture. Only one practical question for practicing devotees. In the morning when we are chanting and we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, obviously in Brahma Muhurat we start, the energy level is different. But to be Krishna conscious whole day, when you go to the evening stage, the mind becomes much more powerful. Because we are not in Vrindavan, we go to office and all that. Frankly speaking, admitted that. But we want to still read Srimad Bhagavatam or chant. But we don't give enough justice to that. So what are we committing offense because when we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam or chanting, mind is totally not in control because of the investment we did whole day, even though like morning it's not there, so a bit of frustration comes. So how we should approach in the evening? We want to read, but we are not able to give the justice. So any explanation?
Good question, Prabhu. So like we see the 9 processes of bhakti. The 9 processes of bhakti starting from hearing, chanting, and the different processes are there. So whatever process we like, whatever process, if you want to hear the bhajans, or you want to hear what inspires us in the beginning, what brought us to Krishna consciousness? Something must have inspired us. Like for me, so when I hear the lectures, so I will become very much inspired in the sense to get my energy level increases. So in the 9 processes of bhakti, whatever the process which we like, we should engage ourselves in that. It's not that reading. If you don't like reading, you can hear the bhajans, you can do something which you feel like doing, in the sense related to Krishna. That's what we are telling is like every individual is having a unique relation with Krishna. You cannot generalize it. Everybody is having a unique relation, and that as per that unique relation, we can do any of these 9 processes, and all this authorized. So in the morning we have to do our sadhana, we have to do our chanting, we have to do our attentive chanting. That's what Bhakti Siddhanta is telling, that we have to beat the mind by broom. So that is the chanting. And evening again we have to do. So that evening, whatever you like, as per your relation with Krishna, whatever inspires you, please do that. And that will help you to elevate, to help you to improve your energy level. That's what is my understanding. Yes, Prabhu.
You mentioned one is sadhu, who is perfected in sadhana. The other one is mahat. So, you mean mahat means nitya-siddhas or sadhas?
No, what I told is a small correction, what you tell correct only. Sadhak and sadhu. And sadhu is the mahat. Sadhak is not the sadhu. Sadhak is somebody he is performing a Krishna consciousness. And one day when he perfect his sadhana, he will become sadhu. To the degree he has perfected, that degree is sadhu. But the perfect devotee, the pure devotee of Krishna is one who is perfected through sadhana. So when a person perfect through his sadhana, he becomes sadhu. So that is the way, Prabhu. I don't know. I answered your question or not. So sadhana siddha in the sense, the person who has perfected their life by doing sadhana. So that is a pure devotee, in which heart the Krishna resides. And we have to take association of that devotee to get Krishna in our heart.
Very basic question. So, like Vidansa also written, government work is God's work, and we say work is worship. So, is Karma Yoga same as Bhakti Yoga, or how to understand this thing, Karma and Bhakti? To me, are two separate topics. Any sort of light on that? Can Karma Yoga be treated as Bhakti Yoga? And how to kind of treat Karma Yoga maybe? You know, because Bhakti Yoga we've spoken too much now. And as Nishan was telling, we are totally in Karma Yoga every full day. So I was trying to, kind of see how to match Karma Yoga with Bhakti Yoga, something on that.
See, Arjuna was fighting the Kurukshetra war, right? It's not that every time he was shooting an arrow, he was chanting Hare Krishna mantra. Right? He was shooting the arrow with the full force. At the same time, he was Krishna conscious. So that is what Karma Yoga is. Karma Yoga is shooting the arrow with keeping Krishna in the center of our life, not by forgetting Krishna. And when we will do that, the same work what we are doing will elevate us to go to next level. Like whatever work we are doing in our office, we forget Krishna. It's very natural. But somehow or other we have to practice. We have to keep practicing. This work I am doing for Krishna. Today I am in office for Krishna because I learn salary.
That is Bhakti Yoga.
So that Bhakti Yoga is basically Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga is related with Bhakti Yoga through this. So do your service keeping Krishna in the center. That's what Arjuna was showing. All other Karma Yoga definitions are wrong. What Prabhupada is saying, not me.
Exactly, that is confusing because I was thinking the same thing, that I think both are related and both go together. So maybe from
It goes together, Prabhu, in the sense, whatever the service we do for Krishna. So that way I am doing my karma, but my karma yoga is to connect myself to Krishna. So whatever yoga I do, it should connect me to Krishna. So if you do some other activity and say is a karma yoga, is it connecting to Krishna? Is it doing that? It's not doing it. So if it's not doing, then it's not a karma yoga. It is, we are just fooling ourselves.
normal opinion is different.
Yeah, that could be different. That's the reason everybody is we are here.
I've seen that. Whenever we discuss about karma yoga, they say that is separate from bhakti yoga, we will do this only.
We have to follow what Prabhupada has told.
Exactly.
Prabhupada has translated bhakti into devotional service. Right? If you read the purport, Sanskrit is bhakti, Prabhupada is writing devotional service. So we have to follow that.
Work is worship is not correct. Work is worship with the God's bhakti.
Work is worship, that work taking me to Krishna. So.
You talked about the child, the car, and this. So mind said that we should see that what mind is saying, but we should not follow it.
Yes.
But we have to use the same mind to follow some devotional things. How do you differentiate which one we have to follow and which one we don't have to follow? And mind is, because same child is probably showing you something really which we want to do that.
Yeah, it is very, very subtle difference actually, in the sense when you try to get up in the morning, the mind will say, why you are getting up? Sleep for some more time. You can chant later. And then you sleep for some time and you get up, the same mind will scold you. Hey, you are slept, you could not stand around. So it is very difficult as such to make out. But that what happens in the sense, when we purify our intelligence, through that intelligence the mind gets purified. With purified mind, what comes If it is in line with Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, that is in line with what we should follow. So if it is in line with Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, what Guru, Sadhu, Shastra is telling, if the mind is telling the same, so then we should follow. But that will happen with practice. If you are practicing with sincerity, Krishna will inspire from the heart. Automatically it will happen. So we don't have to worry too much whether it is my mind is telling or my material mind is telling or something coming from out. And another thing is externally, that is internal. External is also very important, like when Krishna comes externally as a Guru. So Guru, the senior devotees, the counselors, they are there to help you, to tell you what is right, what is wrong. So if you are having a doubt, we can consult them, we can have a confidential discussions with them to find it out whether what I am thinking is right or something else is right. So that's the way it should be. Okay, so we will finish for today's class. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,